everyone. Welcome to the Zone to Speak podcast. I'm your host, Juliana. Hey everyone. At Zone to Speak, I know how important it is to stay healthy, strong, and ready for every ride, workout, and adventure. That's why I am sharing some amazing discounts on products I personally love, designed to support your health, performance, and overall well-being, whether you are an athlete or just looking to feel your best. Cyc Plus. Their smart pump is a game changer, compact, efficient, and perfect for keeping your tires road and gravel ready. Plus they have radar tail lights, smart trainers, smart fans, and more. Get 10% off the smart pump and 5% everything else. 15% off New Zest. Fuel your body with clean, plant-based nutrition. Their clean, lean protein provides a high-quality, easily digestible protein source with no artificial additives. Perfect for recovery and sustained energy. Plus they have Good Green Vitality, which is packed with essential vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants to support your immune system and overall wellness. 20% off First Endurance, top-tier endurance nutrition designed to support hydration, recovery, and sustained energy for long days on the bike or any endurance activity. 35% off Frey Skincare, made for active lifestyles, designed for skin that sweats. Their all-natural vegan and cruelty-free products keep your skin protected and fresh. I have been using Frey for about 10 years and my skin stays young and has never had a breakout since. 10% off Cold Age, high-quality supplements to support your health, from multivitamins to probiotics, collagen, and more. I personally take the women's fermented vitamins, the collagen, and creatine. 10% off Clearly Not Coffee, a delicious coffee alternative made from functional ingredients like mushrooms, maca, cinnamon, and rhodiola, designed to give you calmer energy, sharper focus, and immune support. I take this every morning. I love how it tastes, and I don't have any energy crash during the day. 15% off Omre Supplements, premium supplements to support your training, recovery, and everyday health. And there's something special from me, your host. As a certified integrative health, nutrition expert, and holistic life coach, I'm offering 25% off personalized nutrition and life coaching with Genki Wellness. If you want to optimize your health, improve your energy, or simply feel your best, head to bemoregenki.com. For all discounts, check out the episode description. Use code ZONE2SPEAK at checkout and let these incredible products support your health and performance. Now, let's get into the episode. In this episode of Zone to Speak, I am honored to welcome pro cyclist Hayley Smith, whose impressive career spans multiple disciplines and showcases her resilience, skills, and passion for the sport. Hayley's achievements include representing Canada at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, securing a World Cup cross-country Olympic podium in 2019, claiming multiple national championship titles, and winning the 2018 Swiss Epic. She also made history in 2022 by winning the inaugural Lifetime Grand Prix Series, proving her adaptability and endurance across diverse racing formats. Most recently, Hayley tackled the 2025 Absa Cape Epic, one of the toughest multi-stage mountain bike races in the world, racing alongside Australian cyclist Ella Bloor under Team App. She took on unforgiving terrain, extreme heat and dust conditions, and a stacked field of elite competitors. Today, we'll dive into her experience at Cape Epic, her preparation, highs and lows, and the dynamics of racing as a duo. Hayley, welcome to Zone to Speak.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and thank you for the lovely intro.
Welcome. Very excited to talk to you. So take us to the atmosphere at Cape Epic. When you got there, how was the race village like?
It's it's quite a scene, to be honest. Um, It's interesting because as a pro, most people choose to stay off-site. So at Cape Epic, you can, there's sort of three different ways to do the event. You can stay in the tent village, you can have a mobile home, so a motor home rented on-site, or you can have Airbnbs off-site. Um, and we chose to do the Airbnb route because we knew that it would help our recovery, have access to air conditioning, our own kitchen, that kind of thing. But when we were at the venue and you get to be around all of there's 750 teams, so all
Wow.
1,500 people or so, well, more like 2,000 people once you include the support staff and everyone that's running the event. It's a production. There's lots of energy. Registration day was really, really cool, just seeing everyone so excited and taking photos with um, the logos and the areas they have set up to kind of commemorate this challenge that you're about to take on. Um, so yeah, I guess that's what I would take away from it the most is that being around the event, being around the race village is just an energizing thing. And it's unfortunate that we didn't get to experience it every day, all day. But that probably also helped our performance because it allowed us to check out a little bit.
Yeah, it makes sense. You have a job to deliver and you need to do what's best to be on the best conditions. And yeah, you brought up a good point because the heat was insane this year. I think there most years it's hot, but I don't know if this was the worst heat ever and the dust conditions. So I can't believe staying on a tent. Hopefully
Oh,
overnight it got a little better.
yeah, we said a prayer. We said a prayer for the people in tents every night.
And how were the stages? Like, was there any stage or moment that really stuck with you that you remember, or that pushed you to your limits?
Yeah, for sure. The every stage was quite different. A couple of them were modified due to weather. Once it was modified due to absolutely extreme heat, so temperatures in excess of 40 degrees Celsius. And then the final day was modified because of extreme storms overnight that just destroyed the tent village, completely obliterated the course. So
Oh.
we had both ends of the spectrum. The first stage, I suppose the prologue, it's not actually called stage one, it's called the prologue, so day one. Um, that one nearly broke me. It was only 25 kilometers long. It took us an hour and 20 minutes. And I was just completely not adapted to the heat. So my partner really had to drag me around. I was okay for about 20 minutes. And then when it hit me. And all of a sudden I was just like a sack of hammers. Um, I joke about it now, but in the moment I 100% had crafted a resignation letter to Trek telling them they had to fire me because I was incapable of being a bike racer anymore. So it was really, really hard for me. Yeah, I just really struggled in the heat. But so I suppose that one stuck with me for its challenges. But then every other day, I definitely rode into it, and I felt much better as the week went on. And every day will stick with me for different reasons. But overall, I'm left with a sense of um, enjoyment and accomplishment and um yeah, the stages with the most single track, those ones I'll remember the most fondly for sure.
Well, I'm glad you overcame that moment. I was watching, I couldn't watch the entire race every day, because of work, but I was watching the highlights on YouTube. And yeah, I was trying to spot you. I saw you talking post, race a couple times. I'm sure also there was high moments to cross the finish line every day.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because it is a pairs race, and at least for Ella and I, we didn't really have a day where each of us felt super strong. So I really struggled in those first couple days, and then Ella struggled a little bit more later in the race. So those finish lines, like the first one, it's intensely emotional because I felt a lot of guilt that my partner had to take such care of me and that I couldn't perform for her. And then later on in the race, um, I felt extreme pride in my partner. So it was less about me, but it was more, I felt this sense of pride that she had overcome the challenges that she'd faced in the day. So there's a lot of photos in the second half of the race of me smiling as we cross the line and Ella looking um, not angry, but definitely thankful that we're at the finish line. And my smile is mostly because I got to watch this woman bury herself to make it there. And I certainly had those moments throughout the day as well. But um, yeah, the finish lines are unique because especially by day 8, you've developed a real bond with your partner. And it's just really special to watch them accomplish something every single day.
Amazing. That's powerful. Yeah, I was going to ask about the duel. Did you know each other before? Because I saw some of the interviews, people saying, "Oh, I just met my partner."
We did know each other. I can't actually remember when I met Ella. It wouldn't have been that long ago. Um, I feel like I've always known of her because we've been in the cycling scene for a long time. Both of us have. But we met and became friends in the US either last year or the year before when she was over doing the Lifetime Grand Prix. And um, we'd raced around each other a little bit, but we'd never done a pairs race together. We'd actually never really ridden together. And then at one of the final races in the US last year at Big Sugar in Bentonville, I sort of offhand asked her if she would want to do Cape Epic, if that's something that became an opportunity. And immediately she was like, yeah, I'd do that. So it just kind of went from there. Yeah.
Cool. I race as a pair on ultra races, and yeah, I love it. I love it. But of course, on a pro level, is different. How do you manage the communication and the strategy and the pace?
So I actually learned a lot from Ella this week on that topic. So I have done pairs races in the past. My only partner prior to this had been Catherine Pendrell, and we used to race mountain bikes together. And at the pairs races I'd done, we were very closely matched. So for whatever reason, Catherine and I were always within a few watts of each other and within a few points on the effort scale. So it was very easy for us to ride together. Um, Whereas this time, Ella and I, like I said, we sort of had flip-flop days. So either I was having a really challenging day or she was having a more challenging day. And at first I didn't really know how to deal with that because I didn't have um, I didn't fully understand how she would communicate with me, and I didn't know her tells. And also I wasn't as attuned to the tiny fluctuations in pace. So the first day that we experienced where Ella was struggling a little bit more than I was, I didn't know how much to back off. And I also didn't know how to listen to her nonverbal communication, or how to sort of pay close enough attention to her nonverbal communication. So after that day, we did a lot of talking after the stage on how to make it work. And that's when we kind of figured out um, our recipe for success. And um, yeah, it was very simple, honestly. It was basically, it came down to, we decided that we needed to let the person who was suffering the most lead when there was no drafting benefit. And that was kind of it. That was the answer to the equation. So if it was going uphill and Ella was hurting a little bit more, she would lead so that she was in control of the suffering and it was less distressing, and vice versa. Um, yeah, so we had to have some discussions off the bike to figure out how we would work well together, and then we were able to implement that in the ensuing stages, which was really successful, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I totally get it, and especially on the non-verbal communication, being that I have done some races as a pair, not mountain bike and not pro level like you, but it's so important to be able to read your partner and know. I get, for example, very quiet when I'm doing more efforts, more concentrated, and now I know how to tell people. I didn't know before, but I know how to say, "Hey, if I get quiet, it's not you, it's not personal. I'm just
Mhm.
struggling, but I'm
Mhm.
pushing through." Yeah. Yeah, so well, I'm glad you guys figure it out. And how about your race preparation? You said you weren't ready for the heat. I know you're Canadian, you're based in Canada.
Yes. Yeah.
And yeah, we are just coming out of winter now. You're super strong and you have a lot of experience, but did you do anything different for Cape Epic?
I had intended to, but you know, the best laid plans, as they say. So we'd actually gone to Australia in January to do a training camp, and that exposed us to the heat a little bit, and it also gave us a chance to I got to ride with Ella and hang out with her, which was a good thing. And then in February, when we came home from Australia, my intent was to use a combination of indoor training because it's winter here. So we were using the turbo trainers in the basement as a heat exposure, and then finishing that with a sauna session. So you can use that
Wow.
to kind of help yourself prep for the heat. However, I got sick. So about 3 weeks before the race, I got the flu, and it was really bad. It knocked me out for like 11 days. And so kind of all my heat prep went away. Basically, the heat adaptation degrades very quickly. It degrades much quicker than altitude preparation and other types of like cellular adaptations. So after getting sick, I just kind of had to adjust my plan. So I didn't have time to reintroduce the sauna and have it make any meaningful changes. It would have only made me tired. And I really had to
Yeah.
try to prioritize getting in a few key sessions um, before flying to South Africa. So long story short, I had intended to use the sauna and heat prep, which would have worked, but alas, I got sick, and you have to be adaptable. So
Yeah, and you gotta have to be 100% to show up. And yeah, what a bummer that you got sick, but I'm glad it was at least with enough time for you to be 100% and be at the race.
yeah, I don't think I was. I mean, I think I was fully healthy when I started the race, but um, I don't think I was as strong as I could have been had I not got sick. But I mean, everyone, unless you live in a bubble, everyone's going to get sick at some point in the year. So
Yeah,
you pray that it doesn't happen at one of your peak races, and otherwise you just have to roll with it.
yeah, yeah. Um, so it's a super challenge course, different courses. So there are crashes, mechanicals, punctures, can be really race defining. Did you have any issues on the course?
This we actually spoke about this on our travels home. That so Ella and I were traveling with my husband and his teammates. So there were 2 teams of us, and between the 4 athletes, we had no major crashes, no real mechanicals, no flats.
Wow.
Which for 4 athletes is virtually unheard of at Cape Epic. I had I kissed the ground twice, I think. Just when it was slick, I slipped out on a bridge, but nothing to write home about. So we had smooth runs, which is um,
Knock on wood.
yeah, like it's part of that comes down to skill, but a lot of that also comes down to having really good, reliable equipment.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. I also been quote unquote lucky. I don't want to jinx myself, but I don't even remember getting a flat tire ever on races or rides that people always get one or
Mhm.
multiple punctures. So yeah, it's good when you find good brands that you rely on and don't have problems.
Yeah, yeah.
Good. How about your nutrition? You said you stay on the Airbnb. Did you have anyone helping you both, or you knew what to do and you just went
Mm.
grocery shopping and did your food every day?
So we did hire a soigneur through a local company that this is kind of what they do. It's a collection of professionals that,
That's
um,
awesome.
yeah, that they do. It'll be massage therapists or chiropractors or physios, and then they hire themselves out for the week to people traveling to South Africa for Cape Epic. We had this wonderful woman named Liska who helped us throughout the week, and a friend named Fraser, who's Ella's friend, that came from home, and the two of them helped take care of us. So Liska was looking after our bodies, and Fraser was kind of the do everything man. Um, so they did a lot of pretty much all the grocery shopping and helped us prepare things, but we sort of did most of the cooking just because it's what we're comfortable with, and it's something that all 4 of us enjoyed. So it was, we took care of that every day, but, and we ate communally. So all 6 of us in the house, the 4 athletes and the 2 people who were helping support us, we all ate together. And we kind of we ate very simply. We ate a ton of rice. This was certainly the most carbohydrates I've ever eaten ever. So learning 15 years into my career how to eat enough, and I actually think I finally did it this race. Um, but yeah, it was a lot of rice, a lot of rice.
Rice is good. Rice is good.
Yeah.
I love it. Savory, sweet.
hmm
Anything that you think specific tricks that really helped you stay strong?
In
Nutrition
terms of
or
nutrition or
in
in
terms
general?
of overall recovery in general?
Mm. I think that eating was the biggest thing. So obviously you want to go in as healthy as you can be. That's a pretty big one. You need to start from a solid platform. And um, that part of that is making sure that you have enough resources in your body to carry you, because you will probably be in deficit at some point in these 8 days. There's no way you won't
Yeah.
be. So you need to really make sure that you're robust to start the week. Um, Having a recovery drink or something right after is really important. So within, like, that would be the first thing I drank as soon as I crossed the finish line. And then just really, really nailing those carbohydrates, not worrying so much about um, the other macronutrients, but making sure that you're replenishing your carb stores each day. I've never felt this strong on day 8. I've been certainly in a much, much deeper hole in training before when the load is much lower. And in retrospect, it's because I wasn't eating enough. So that's the biggest thing I can say, is just getting the carbs in. On some days for me, that we calculated it and I was getting like well over 1,000 grams of carbs in a day, which is
Wow.
a lot.
Wow.
Um,
But you're probably also using a lot of your reserves. So,
yeah. And the guys
yeah.
were obviously eating much more than that, given their output is quite a bit higher. Um, and then hygiene, that's a basic one, but you have to make sure you're washing your hands a ton. Try not to use too many public bathrooms, that kind of thing. Um, Multivitamins. I was taking a multivitamin each day just because with that volume of rice, there's not so much room for carrots.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, Recovery also for me, magnesium is a big part of it. We recently discovered that I have likely been magnesium deficient for most of my life. So I was taking, that's the only other supplement I would take, is daily magnesium. And then just sleeping as much as you can, resting.
So I think you definitely made the right decision on the Airbnb because you probably slept better and ate better than being on a
For
tent for
sure.
sure.
Yeah, um yeah, just having a comfortable sleeping environment, being able to get some refuge from the heat is a big thing. I guess that's another thing with recovery, is getting your core temperature back down as quickly as you can. Um yeah, I mean, I've tented at a stage race before and I really liked it. It was an adventure and it was super fun, but if you're there purely or largely to perform, I think Airbnbs is the way to go.
Agree. Yeah. You're going to migration race this year,
I
no?
am, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, you're in for a treat, but it is tense, but it's
Yeah.
comfy. It's comfy.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, migration for me, for those who don't know, it's a stage race in Kenya, through the Masai Mara, but um, that's an adventure for me. Racing is to me
Absolutely.
equal parts adventure and performance, and that one maybe skews more towards the adventure. But I'm looking forward to sleeping in a tent in Kenya. That's a crazy life experience, so I'm looking forward to
Yeah, it is it's a crazy experience. You'll love it. You're in for a treat. Yeah, it's 4 days state race and it's amazing.
it.
Anyways, back to Cape Epic. You have done so many high level races. How does Cape Epic compare to other endurance events you have done? And what makes it so unique? Because it's the holy grail of mountain bike, right?
Mm. Yeah, I think the only thing that I can say, well, I've done a lot of stage racing. I've only done one other 8-day event, and that was the Croc Trophy in Australia, which I don't actually think exists anymore. I think last year was its final iteration. Um, and that one was, I would say that was harder for me. The Croc Trophy was, partly because when it came in my career, I did it 8 years ago, so I didn't have the durability that I have now. But
Okay.
also, it was not a pairs race. So in that race, also because it was mass start, so I was racing against
Mhm.
and with the men. So at Croc Trophy, it was literally as hard as I could go every single minute of of every pedal stroke for the 32 hours of racing over 8 days. Whereas at Cape Epic, when you're racing with a partner, there are moments where you're at your physical maximum, and there are lots of moments where you're not. Um, so it I wouldn't say I would say that it was easier in some ways, but harder in others, probably harder emotionally and the soft skills that come with racing. It was harder in those respects, but maybe not as much of a physical load as doing an 8-day solo stage race. Um, it did. Cape Epic threw everything at us. We had every single kind of mud you could imagine. We had extreme heat, dust, rain, intense wind.
Wow.
Um, so like every type of, except snow. The only thing we didn't have was snow, but every other environmental condition was thrown at us, and that was very, very challenging, and very different to other stage races I've done. Like you brought up Swiss Epic, for example. That's only 4 days long, and it's all in a pretty similar climate. Like we didn't change zones so
Yeah,
much.
there's less
So
variation, if
exactly.
any.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I would say that Cape Epic had the most variety of any race I've done, both in terms of challenge and in elements you encounter.
And I think it takes
Length.
more of you
Yeah.
mentally as well, right? To
Yeah. Yeah.
endure all that.
Mhm.
Anything you would do differently?
I would figure out how to not get the flu and make sure I do heat adaptation. Um, yeah, I mean, it was a learning year for all of us. We all went in kind of thinking that this was a recon year, and because there's lots that you have to learn about Cape Epic. We were lucky that we did have clean runs and didn't need to use our like spare parts out there. So Cape Epic is a self-supported race, meaning that every athlete, if you have a problem, you have to fix it. You're not allowed to have a mechanic fix it for you out on the race, but you're allowed to pre-fill tech boxes that will meet you at specific points along the route each day. And in retrospect, I know we were competing against teams that would have had pretty much a full bike rebuild in each box, whereas we did not have those spare parts. So we were just very thankful that nothing went wrong. But things I would do differently, I would make sure I had as many spare parts as I could and have them all in the tech boxes. I would pay more attention to um, ice and uh, like cold water out there. We did our best, but for example, we didn't warm up any day really because we didn't have a way to stay cool on the rollers. Whereas the people we're competing against are warming up, but they're wearing ice vests or like have full ice covering them head to toe. And that wasn't, we didn't have that capability. Um, I can tell you that day 8 hurt a lot having not warmed up. The 0 to hero was
I
I had some
bet.
real angry legs on that last day. Um, but other than that, I don't know that there's anything I would do differently. I loved my partner. I loved the race, and now it's just about um, learning from what you did. So it's not so much doing things differently, but about now
Yeah,
knowing what to expect.
yeah.
And
Just some
yeah.
post race reflections and yeah.
Hmm.
So I guess you'll do it again.
Oh yeah, I crossed the line on day 8 and I was like, it's why is it over? It shouldn't be over yet. It can't be over. I want to do it again. So yeah, if I have to, yeah, I'll be back next year for sure.
Wonderful. I'll be watching and cheering for you. As we are wrapping up Cape Epic, you had a successful career in cross country Olympic racing. What inspired you to shift towards gravel and marathon races?
That's sort of a two-part question, I think. I always have loved adventure racing, or I guess it's really just endurance racing, marathon racing. My first experience with it was Croc Trophy in 2017. It was my first taste of both stage racing and doing races longer than 2 hours, and I loved it. Um, it was just such an incredible experience. And since at that point, so since 2017, I'd always done a couple of those style of events each year. Um, and then the pandemic hit in 2020. I was still an XCO racer, which are short events. They're usually 80 minutes long. Um, and I went to the Olympics in Tokyo in 2021, and that whole experience, the pandemic, the Olympics, all of that, the pressure of it, it just broke me. And I said this a few times in different interviews, but I woke up the morning of the Olympics being very sure that I would never race a bike again. I just knew that that was it. I
Wow.
was done. I couldn't do it anymore. Um, and then this opportunity was presented to me to switch to endurance, drop bar, and mountain bike racing. And I guess something in me knew that I wasn't done, and I took that opportunity. And little did I know that it was actually maybe more, or well, it had a lot of elements of what I loved about biking that XCO racing maybe didn't have. And it's kind of, yeah, so that's what I've been doing for 4 years now. So it's not so much that I was inspired to switch, but it's more that I took a series of turns in my XCO career that kind of led me here, and it just, I don't know. I don't want to say that it worked out, but it's more that I have found myself in a place
Yeah.
that really suits me, um, and suits, yeah, just kind of where I'm at in my life, I guess.
And you mentioned a little bit the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, but how was the experience? I think you got the bronze there.
No,
No, I thought
I
you
finished
have.
so far
Oh,
back.
you have the bronze on the 2018 Commonwealth
Yeah,
Games.
I won a
Sorry.
bronze at
Okay.
Commonwealth Games. The
Yeah.
Olympics, I drastically underperformed. I wish I could say I got a bronze, but alas,
Well,
no.
maybe you
Um,
underperformed there, but you still made to the Olympics, which is a huge achievement.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's funny because you get there and it's something that you wished and worked for a decade or more, and you get there and it's just another bike race. And there's lots of cool stuff about it, but also, I mean, we were at a pandemic game, so it was
That's true. There was
very,
no audience, nobody there. Very anticlimactic.
exactly, like and you get there and it's just like, oh, okay. And then, I mean, it's so cliche, but you realize as you recover from the games and you recover from the letdown and the blues and whatnot, you kind of realize that if it didn't go, whether it went to plan or not, whether you performed or not, the vast majority of that whole experience, of the Olympic experience, is actually just trying to make it to the Olympics. And that's what was the really cool experience. Um, all the steps we took along the way. And yeah, so my Olympic experience, I really think of as like the decade leading into it. And that was the most fulfilling thing I could possibly imagine. The Olympics themselves could take it or leave it, kind of how it went for me, but I would not trade those 10 years for anything.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. I'm just thinking maybe athletes have this expectation of being this huge high. And like you said, when you get there, it's just another race. Plus the pressure factor, all that has a huge play. And then maybe also, like you said, performing or not performing, maybe coming back home, you have that post race blues. What's next? What now?
Yeah, and it can be a huge high. I've had races before that were peaks for me that really gave me that like incredible high. But that's very volatile.
Yeah.
And if you have those highs, you're certainly going to have lows. That's how it works. You can't stay up there forever.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think I've just, my highs are now found in well, I love to win and I love to perform well. It's been a while since I've felt like I've done that, but the highs for me really are in the daily experiences and um in the preparation, I guess. And that's something I learned from how poorly the Olympics went for me, was just where I found my meaning. And it's kind of in the other 998 hours of the year that I spend on my bike, not the 2 hours of the one peak event.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, sometimes you have to go through those experiences to find what truly matters, what's important, and where's your
Mhm.
journey.
And
Yeah.
I might have a different opinion if let's say I won gold at the Olympics. I think I would look at it I actually think I would look at it the same. Like you, I think it would have um you'd obviously have this incredible high, but you come down from it and you would realize you're in the same spot, sort of. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I
get
don't
it.
know.
Can you talk about your experience winning the Lifetime Grand Prix and how it influenced your career trajectory?
Yeah, so I mean, naively, I would say that it didn't change anything and it didn't really influence my trajectory. Um, but if I look at it objectively, certainly as a Canadian, I think it probably made American brands aware of who I was. So I can't deny that it did open professional doors for me. Um, it certainly did. But at the same time, I don't really feel like it changed my trajectory because I would still be doing the same thing if I didn't win. I would still be trying to perform at the same races. I would still be trying to um, reach my potential. So yeah, I suppose that it just gave me the freedom to be able to continue to do this because it increased my market value, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So I get, yeah, business wise, it opened doors and
Mhm.
enabled you to continue to do
Mhm.
what you love, but your
Yeah,
integrity and what you wanted, we wouldn't have changed,
yeah,
victory or not.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've never really been someone who like looks at a series overall, even when I was racing World Cups. Like it was never um I just don't think about an overall title. That's just not something that's it's not my approach to sport, but um yeah, so even then I was sort of targeting individual races, and that's what I'm doing now as well, at least trying to.
You are known for being an advocate for mental health. How do you balance the pressures of professional racing with maintaining your mental well-being?
This question always makes me laugh because my answer is not well. I don't balance them very well. I'm still learning. Um, but yeah, for those who don't know or who don't know who I am or my history, um, I was first diagnosed with an eating disorder when I was 13, so well before I came to cycling. And it's been a long journey since then, but yeah, long story short, I've sort of struggled with um, like debilitating generalized anxiety, depression, and some form of obsessive controlling underlying behaviors pretty much my whole life. And at times, cycling has made that much better. It's helped me manage them. And at other times, it's made it much worse. And typically, um, I tip to the worst side of the spectrum when the pressure when I have an imbalance in the pressure that I feel. And usually pressure is invented. It doesn't actually exist. No one's life is riding on what I do. If I didn't have a job tomorrow, if I got fired by all my sponsors, I'd be able to find a different job. Like it wouldn't be I wouldn't be destitute. So all this to say, like that pressure is really made up. And
Yeah.
um, I'm learning as I go through sport. Every year I learn a little bit more about how to understand where my pressure is coming from and how to work with it a little better. So I think I'm cycling is teaching me how to find a balance between mental health and performance. And I think what it's teaching me is that it doesn't have to be balance does not mean you, sacrificing performance, and it doesn't mean sacrificing anything else in your life either. I think that when people hear the word balance, they assume that one must have to give for the other, but I think it's more that your um your your conceptualization changes. You have a more balanced understanding of what's happening, so in your brain or um in your approach. I'm probably probably losing people a little bit here because
No,
I'm
no, no. It
struggling to
makes total
explain it
sense.
for
It makes total
myself.
sense. And I think you bring up a good point because when we say balance, I do imagine tranquility.
Mm.
And I think it's not that. I think balance is managing this inside voice, this inside pressure, this inside expectation.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what I'm kind of trying to articulate is that uh, how I balance it now is more just trying to understand myself a little bit better and understand what I'm experiencing and feeling, and that just gives me space to make decisions as opposed to react to things that I'm feeling. Um, yeah, I think that it maybe lies in it's similar to mindfulness, I suppose, but it's more like this self-awareness.
Yeah,
Um,
naming it. Yeah.
yeah, that you kind of, as you get older, you acquire this awareness about your triggers, about your priorities, and it helps you just um, I don't think you're looking for I don't think I'm looking for balance so much as I am looking for the ability to prioritize what's actually a priority for me. And then that it just kind of it takes care of it, sort of.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. Sorry, this is not
No,
a
it
very
makes total
articulate
sense. And thanks
response, but
for opening up and sharing this. I appreciate it.
mm.
And I'm sure you will be relatable to others and hopefully help others.
Yeah, I mean, everybody, we all like,
We all
we all
have
have,
our
exactly.
own
Yeah.
battles, inside
Yeah.
battles. Yeah.
I've never met someone who didn't say that they've, felt depressed or anxious or something at some time in their life. We all experience it. I'm just quite lucky that cycling has given me the chance to confront it on sort of a daily basis. And in order to succeed, I have had to confront it. And not everyone is so lucky to have a pursuit in their life that forces them to face these things. Um, yeah. So
Yeah. I think
I don't know.
cycling or any sports, it's really helpful for a lot of
Mhm,
people.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So,
you also you can't like figure out what your weaknesses are or what your vulnerabilities are unless you're faced with them. And sport really throws them in your face. So um yeah, I'm just very I'm waxing poetic right now, but I'm very grateful for having the opportunity to explore my mental health through sport because I think it's been the type of therapy and it's helped me just understand it a lot more.
wonderful. Glad to hear it. So what's next? What are your goals? What are you aiming for the next phase of your career? Any upcoming races?
Yeah, I have probably another 15 or between 15 and 18 events this year.
Wow.
Obviously, I'm not trying to peak at all of those. I kind of have a few goals that are important to me. Unbound is one of them. I'd really like to crack that code.
Which
Um,
distance are you doing?
I'll do the 200, which is so
200.
200 miles, 328 kilometers. I've done it 3 times now, and I've been in the top 10 every time, but I'd really like to get a little higher than that. Um, So Unbound is a performance goal. Um, Leadville is a performance goal. Mountain bike marathon world championships are a performance goal. And then after Cape Epic, I uh, am seriously considering putting Gravel Burn on my schedule, which is a 7-day gravel stage race in South
Yes.
Africa at the
I
end of
want to do
October.
that.
Yeah, so I was actually Googling flights right before this podcast. Um, but immediately what's coming up is a 3-weekend race block. We have Sea Otter Classic, which is a gravel race. Levi's Grand Fondo, which is a road race. It'll be my first road race ever. And then the Whiskey 50, which is a marathon mountain bike race. So I'll do that 3-week block, which will set me up for my final month training camp before Unbound 200.
Amazing. And the Ciara you mentioned is the one in California, not in Spain.
Correct. Yeah, it's
Okay.
the OG Sea Otter.
Yeah, OG Ciara.
Yeah.
Wow, you're going to be very busy, top fit, incredible. I wish you
Hopefully.
all the best on your 2025 season. I'm very excited about Unbound. I I don't think she has announced yet, but she did tell me on the podcast I recorded with her last week. So Laura King will also be doing the Unbound 200
Cool.
this year. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll probably be the biggest year it's had. it's only growing in popularity and in like status in prestige. So I think we're going to see a really, really strong women's field this year.
Yeah,
It's
it's
exciting,
so
exciting and
exciting.
nerve-wracking. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Haley, thank you so much for sharing your journey, your time at Cape Epic. I really appreciate your time. And maybe we can have a catch up at the end of your season.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Juliana. And of course, if you want to catch up at any time, just send me an email and we'll make it happen.
Awesome. Thank you.
And that's all for today's episode. I want to thank the listeners for tuning in. Your support means everything. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider following, leaving a review, and sharing it with your friends.